On to politics. My next guest says that the 2016 election will not be decided by soccer moms and NASCAR dads. This November, the election will be decided by none of the above voters. Joining us right now to explain his analysis is Republican pollster and Fox News contributor Frank Luntz. Frank, good to see you.
Good to see you. It's 11% of the electorate, and these are people who say, I don't want to vote for Clinton, I don't want to vote for Trump, I don't like either of them. They don't hate all politicians. Bernie Sanders has a plus 20% favorability among these people. Demographically, they're female. Demographically, they're younger. Attitudinally voted for Mitt Romney over Barack Obama, and they like the Republicans more than the Democrats. So if they're demographic, they should be with Hillary. If they're attitudinal, they should be with Trump. The number one attribute is honesty and integrity. And they don't like either candidate on that attribute, which is why so far they refuse to make a choice.
Wow. So what about those? I mean, the largest voter group is who?
Well, the largest voter, Americans. I mean, if
yeah,
actually,
no, but I mean in terms of like, is it, like some people have come on this show and said, look, white males, you know, Hillary's not doing well with white males.
And she's not, and particularly white males over age 50. And in fact, what frustrates me about the gender gap is that they always look at women. And I realize that we're outnumbered here, and women vote more than men do. But for Trump's weakness among women, you also have to talk about Hillary Clinton's weakness among men, and particularly men over age 50.
Right.
I can't find a white male over age 50 who's voting for Hillary Clinton, even Bill.
Yeah.
So does your research, Frank, does that point to a third-party run or someone else coming into the race?
It could have 3 or 4 months ago, and it still could if it was Mike Bloomberg. In fact, the polling that we did had Bloomberg over 25% starting off the race. And it wasn't necessarily about him. It was the idea that he was a successful businessman, someone who held public office for 12 years, and someone who wasn't beholden to special interests. That's what these voters are looking for, someone who doesn't look like the typical politician. Now, let's face it, Hillary Clinton's been around for a quarter century. And let's also face it, Donald Trump has never held public office. We have not voted for that since Dwight Eisenhower in 1956.
Well, and he had military experience, which Trump doesn't have, so that's another.
And so they appreciate
negative.
the business experience, but it's also the tone of the campaign, and we know it's going to get even more negative. So in the end, the deciding factor among that 11%, who do I distrust the least?
But that's unbelievable.
And by the way, it's going to get worse, which means we're going to talk a little bit, I think, before we cut out, of Trump's discussion about the media and how he likes to label them. Voters respond to that, but the problem is, as a marketer and a communications guy, I know the problem with that. Instead of talking about taxes, we're talking about Lion Ted. Instead of talking about budgets and the markets and the things you talk about every day, we're talking about little Marco. I have a problem with that.
So do I.
Because at this time in particular, we need someone who has the answers. He has some. We need someone who can present it in a unifying way, and that we don't have.
Just on that note, yesterday, this is my personal perspective on when he was calling names. There were a couple of reporters that he called out. The one that was the sleaze, and there was another one, I've seen you before, you're a real beauty.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see their faces. Like, you couldn't see who he was talking to. I thought from the optics of it, that was maybe not the smartest thing.
Well, at some point, you have to get beyond labeling. At some point, you have to get beyond the histrionics of the politics and actually get to the details. But what Donald Trump does, he truly is. He's the voice. He speaks for tens of millions of people who feel shut out. You know what? So does Bernie Sanders. And that's why they're both doing well.
Yeah.
But don't we already have a viable third-party candidate in Gary Johnson? I mean, he's polling quite well. He may not be the charismatic Bloomberg that someone wanted in a third party, but if people want to disrupt the establishment, isn't Gary Johnson a perfect third-party potential?
And his running mate is Bill Weld, who was the successful governor of Massachusetts.
Maybe it should be switched.
Well, the problem with Gary Johnson is his big issue is legalizing marijuana. And I've done a lot of focus groups in Colorado, and I have to tell you that it is affecting the mindset of the people there. That when I do a focus group in Colorado,
what is? You mean marijuana is?
Yes. It means that they want to eat during the session, and they're just so chilled that it's impossible. And by the way, I have advice for you all. The best investment is not one of the stocks you're reporting, and it's not a medical marijuana license. It's the pizza parlors right next to the marijuana medical places.
So voters are angry headed into the general election. You recently said that your focus groups are highlighting an anger from voters. How will the anger impact the strategies?
I think we're going to have the most contentious debates we've ever had. I'm trying to buy the pay-per-view rights for Europe and Asia.
Wow.
I think for the whole world. They're going to be so at each other, and we've never seen anything like it.
You mentioned Mike Bloomberg. Would Hillary pick Mike Bloomberg as a running mate?
You're the first person to ask that question, and you know what? That would be brilliant. That would be so brilliant.
But he's got less charisma than my shoe, though. Isn't that a problem?
Well, your shoe's got pretty good charisma.
No, they don't, actually.
No?
No, I'm being serious. He's not the most charismatic person. Like, in New York, he resonates, but outside of New York, she's got personality issues.
Well, by the
she
way,
doesn't seem authentic, and her personality seems manufactured.
Speaking of shoes with charisma.
Nice sneakers.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can get it on the air.
Nice sneakers, Frank.
There we go.
Look at you, Donald Trump sneakers.
Make America
Where'd
great.
you get those?
Oh, I've been selling them thousands and thousands. I'm basically trying to trigger a lawsuit from Trump. I've been importing them from other countries and just selling them at such a huge profit, and I owe Donald Trump so much money.
No, give it to
There's going to be a lawyer and security people in here momentarily.
Give it to charity.
VP for Trump, who is it?
I know who they're looking at. He's right that he does have to have Washington experience, but it also has to be a fresh face. I would look at the senator from Tennessee, Bob Corker, because he knows foreign policy.
Yeah, they had a meeting.
I would also look at the senator from South Dakota, John Thune, an incredible communicator and very strong on policy. Both those two individuals would be good. If you're looking at a governor, I would look at Chris Christie. He knows the issues, and he's tough like Trump. And if you want someone bright, there is no one brighter than Newt Gingrich.
Were the Southerners, though, that they want two loudmouth Yankees? Can they digest that?
Well, the amazing thing, it's very funny, as spoken from a Southern. You know, if you
That's from my mother, by the way. She's the one who said it. She was like, two loudmouth Yankees? I don't know.
But if you guys only spoke a little bit faster, you might have actually won that war.
Whoa, Frank, thank you so much for joining us.
I've said that never in my life.
Well, I always say
worried about winning the war.
The South will rise again, and the North will win again. So just something to consider. You raise a good point, but voters aren't voting based on where they come from. And they're not voting based on their biographies anymore. They're voting based on, do you understand me? Do you reflect? It is not just anger, it's betrayal. And are you going to take on Wall Street and Washington? That's what matters most.
Yeah. And both parties want that.
Both parties want it, which is why Donald Trump is actually getting a fair number of Bernie Sanders voters.
Yeah.
This is the strangest election ever. I wonder if we've legalized marijuana for the whole country. Because we've never had an election like this one.
Good stuff. Frank, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be talking to you again soon. Frank Luntz there.